next important slide, let me make it bigger on that slide. Okay, so this is very important thing. So in Java world, as I said, right, so the keywords are very important over here. Okay, so if you miss to give these keywords incorrectly, okay, these are special reserved characters. Like we saw what is main, right? Main is a special reserved character. If you give it incorrectly, your compiler will not understand what is that keyword, and it will be throwing errors for you. Okay, the similar way there are other keywords in Java, like if I want to define a data type. Okay, what is a data type is, if I want to have a number which is being defined, I can just give the number with the variable name, and I have to tell what is that variable, whether it's integer or float or double or something like that. Okay, so those things are predefined as predefined, what I can say, a predefined reserved keywords. Okay, only if you use that one, our Java program will understand. Okay, in Eclipse, it will be very easy for you. You will be able to see that predefined keywords in a different color. Okay, you'll be able to color code that and understand that differently. So that's how powerful Eclipse is. So you have to understand all these keywords. We'll see these in detail, but just as a slide, I want to show this. So catch is there. Catch is a keyword where there's a concept called as exception handling. If there is any error which has been occurred during a program is being executed, we need to handle that error, right? We cannot just leave it as such and run the rest of the program. So there is a exception handling mechanism which is called a try catch block. So we have a catch keyword, and you know what is class also, right? I'm not sure why I'm not able to move this one. Yeah. So we have class keyword, you already know. So in a similar way, we'll try to see the other keywords as well. Package, you already saw, right? That capsule name on the top of your program, you'll be able to see that. Private is one keyword. Public keyword, you already saw how it is working. Static keyword, you already saw this one, right? The similar way, there are other keywords which actually comes in our upcoming sessions. We'll see how that is being addressed. Okay. So this is on keywords and syntax. So let's move on to the first type, which is called as data types. Okay, so this is very important thing. So from automation standpoint, if you ask me, we will be using majorly integer. Okay, we'll be using double, float, boolean, definitely we'll be using, but not others. In very rare cases we use character. Okay, so first we'll understand what is a data type first. So what is a data type? From the term itself we can understand, right? So what kind of data which we want to use in the program, we have to define it accordingly. Okay, if I want to use a number in my program to do some computations or calculations, I need to define the data type accordingly. I have to use a keyword called as int. Only then my Java compiler will understand, okay, he or she is trying to use something with an integer and trying to do something with integer computation, right? So then I have to use another keyword called as boolean if I want to get my results as true or false. Okay, so always boolean should be 0 or 1, right? So in Java world, it is always true or false. We'll be able to print the value as true or false. So if I want to get some conditional statements, if I want to get a result as true or false, I can use the data type as boolean. Okay, in a similar way, I have short character. If I want to just have only specific characters to be written, okay, like A is a character, B is a character, right? So rather complete string, if I want to return as separate characters, I can use the data type as character. Okay, so there is a very wrong perception which is being actually thought. I wouldn't say not thought. Everyone says string as a data type, but if you ask me, string is not a data type. Rather, string is a class. Okay, so I'll explain you string separately. String means what? Collection of characters is called a string, but string is not a data type. Rather, string is a class. Okay, I'll tell you why once we see the different types of data types and stuff. Okay, so before we jump into the data types part, right, I will quickly show you how we can execute this or define our data types. Okay, so what I want you guys also to do is, I'll anyway share this project with you. You don't need to worry, but just when you are practicing it, right, always have a proper naming convention for your Java files. Only then, if I want to quickly refer any program, if I want to call that program into my another program, it will be very easy for me. Okay, if you just give some names like A, B, 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 or something like that, you don't understand what is that program itself, right? So always follow a proper pattern, give proper naming convention for your Java programs, so that your project looks in a structured way and you'll be able to reuse, or you'll be able to understand them in the longer run. Okay, so we will first understand what are the different types of data types. Okay, so for different types of data types, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new class, see carefully team. So I'll just give data types example. Okay, so I just created a class over here, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to define my different data types. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'll just give in the, I'll first write my main method, public static void main of. Always I won't go with the default selection. I type my main method so that I remember the syntax. I actually recommend you also to do that. Don't go with the predefined one. Type all these code team. Always don't copy paste codes. I would always recommend you to type it. Only then you'll understand, okay, what is basically happening, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give integer. Integer is my data type. Okay. So what is this A? It cannot be A, it can be anything. Okay. I'll just give a variable name for as A, and I'm going to do some assignment for that integer A. Okay. So now what will happen? What is this code will do for me is wherever I call A, okay, in my program, wherever I call A, that value for A will be 10 for me. Okay, so this integer A is basically assigned to a value called as 10, and that is basically integer for me. Okay, if I just give something like yes over here, it will throw an error because yes is a character and 10 is a number. Now if you see, it is throwing an error, syntax error on token s, delete this token. Why it is telling like this is, here I am giving integer over here. If I give a character, this A does not have any sense, right? Because I cannot have the data type as integer and I cannot have a character over here. So we have to be very careful how we are defining this variable names. Okay, so when I give the data type as integer, and if I assign some values to it, I have to make sure that value is assigned properly. Okay, so even I can have different ways. I can just give byte b. Okay, so all this integer byte and all this, each kind of data types has its own memory allocation which is being stored in the backend. Okay, so based upon your compilation or based upon your execution, that memory will be allocated in your JVM, and based upon your program, it will be fetched and it will be executed for you. Okay, so let me put one more example. Okay, for defining one character, what I can do is I'll just give character Shailaja is equal to, I'll just give one character like this, or I'll just give A, or I'll just give a sense. Okay, so wherever I call Shailaja, S will be printed for me. Okay, so this is how I basically define the different characters. Now, if you see here, I'll just give Boolean. Java is easy. Okay, I can assign my Boolean values over here. I'll just give true over here. Okay, I cannot give Boolean Java is equal to easy is equal to 10. It will not understand this, and try to have some time with you to understand what is the issue.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, thank you.
Will that be fine?
Yes.
Sure. All right. So now you understood, right? So how I'm defining these different data types. Okay. So now if I want to just print this one, this very simple way is if I just give SYSO control space, SYSO statement is coming. And if I just give this value, this variable name over here, okay. And if I run this, see the value which has been assigned to Java SCC is printing for me, not Java SCC is printed. You're getting the point, right? If I just print this variable, you should not be thinking, okay, this should be printed. Rather, what value I have assigned to this variable variable will be printed for you. Okay, so now if you observe here, as I was telling, right, so all these special characters will be in a different color coding. Now, if you see integer is having a different color code, byte is having a different color code, character, boolean, everything is basically having a different color code over here. So based upon this color code is what we will be using it into our program, and we will be, if I just give integer 1 over here, see the color has been changed and it will not understand what it is. I cannot just give integer or something like this. I have to use the predefined keywords only. Okay, so just this alone we have to remember, team. There is no other way. Few things we have to definitely remember in our mind all the time. Okay, and also our editors are there. They'll definitely help us. But just in case, we have to remember all these keywords. Okay, so if you ask me, right, then what are the use of other keywords? Yes, other keywords. I mean, other data types are all there, but majorly we will be using only this, and just the difference between all these is the memory allocation in the backend. Okay, we don't need to understand more in depth on this, because it's not going to help us in the longer run. But if you need any information additional on this, I'll probably share. I created a quick PDF reference document with definitions. Probably you can refer. But if you ask me, on ground, real time, we majorly play with integer, and we use string as a class and characters, because in automation world we have to manipulate data, we have to verify data from the applications and stuff, right? So we will basically focus only on those. Okay, so this is how your data types basically works. Okay, so if you ask me from definition standpoint, right, there are two types of data types which are there. One is primitive and not primitive. So what is primitive is, it basically comes with all your basic definitions. So let me go here. I'm not sure. Let me move this way. Okay, so primitives are those which comes with the default types. Okay, take it byte, short, integer, long, float, double. Okay, so what are non-primitives? That is what I was explaining you a few minutes before, right? Which comes as part of your classes, interface, and arrays. Okay, so if I have a class, I can have different methods inside that. If I can do any manipulation with the data, that is called as your non-primitive data types. So we will see about arrays, interfaces in our upcoming classes. But for now, you just have this in mind. Data type means I can define a type, I can give a variable name, and I can assign some value to it. Okay, and I can do some computations, or I can do some manipulations on top of it. Okay, I'll just pause here for a minute. Any questions till now? So if you ask me from the